Alrighty, hola clase. Last week we talked about Cinco de Mayo and some of the historical significance behind it. But this week for Spanish 1, we're going to go over some new vocabulary terms and a slightly new grammar concept. So, if you haven't done so already, I recommend you downloading and, if it helps you, printing off the new vocabulary list. It is linked on the Google Classroom and you can fill it out, follow along with the video. So let's begin. Our first top section are all action words. They're verbs. If you notice, they all have something in common. They all end with the letters E and R. On the last list, all of the verbs ended with the letters AR, but on this list, because they all end with the letter ER, it's going to change things just a little bit. First, let's go over what these mean. Our first ER verb is aprender. Aprender means to learn, which is kind of your job as a student. Aprender. Our next one, beber. Beber means to drink. So if you're really thirsty, necesitas beber. You need to drink, preferably some water. Next one, comer. Comer is probably my favorite verb. Comer means to eat. So if you say me gusta comer, you're saying I like to eat. Next one, a little bit longer. Comprender. Comprender is a loose cognate. If you look at it, it might look similar to the word comprehend. Comprehend is just a fancy way to say to understand. So for comprender, we're going to write down that it means to understand. Next one, correr. Notice it has that double R, so if you can, roll your tongue. Correr. Correr is a physical activity. Some people are good at it, myself not so much. Correr means to run. So I might say, no me gusta correr. I don't like to run. Next one, creer. Creer means to believe or to think. It kind of changes depending on the situation. So if you're talking about belief system, you would definitely use creer. But they also have a phrase in Spanish that is pretty fun to say. Creo que sí. I think so. Creo que sí. So in this case, creer means to think rather than to believe. So it switches up depending on the meaning. What I want us to write down is actually both. Creer equals to believe and to think. Now we're moving to the other side of the vocab list. We have hacer. Remember, H's are silent. Hacer. In Spanish, hacer actually has two meanings. Once again, you got to write down both. Hacer means to do, or it means to make. However, then the next one, hacer ejercicios. Hacer ejercicios is kind of a phrase all put together. Literally, it means to do exercises. However, in English, we don't usually talk like that. We don't say, I am going to do exercises. Sometimes we might, but usually we just say, I'm going to exercise. So, hacer ejercicios means to exercise. Our next one is leer. Leer is something you might have to do in la clase de inglés. Leer means to read. Next on the list, responder. This one is a cognate. Responder means to respond. So in this case, if someone is having a conversation with you, I would say, how are you doing? The person would respond with, I am good, or I'm so-so, or I'm bad. Responder, to respond. Next one, vender. Vender. This one you can kind of think of slightly as a cognate, or maybe not cognate so much as there are connections to the word that might be familiar to us. So if you think of a vending machine or a vendor, A vendor is a person who sells you something. And a vending machine will give you items if you give it money. So, hopefully that will help you remember that vender means to sell. Like a vendor's job is vender, to sell. Last one, ver. Ver, short and sweet, it means to see. Ver. Now, on our last vocab list, we had the verb mirar. Mirar means to watch. And these are both very similar words. However, in English, we have the same thing. To watch, to see. They're similar but slightly different. To watch usually means over like a long period of time. Like if you're sitting down and watching a movie, it might be over a longer period of time. But if you see something, it might only take you a second to see a bird out the window or to see a friend in class. All right. Before we move on to the next section, there's something I have to make note of. 3 of these vocabulary terms have a little star next to them at the beginning. Hacer, hacer ejercicios, and ver. The reason for this is that when we conjugate these verbs, when we change them, depending on the subject, hacer, hacer ejercicios, and ver, they all are a little irregular, so they have to have an extra step when we conjugate them. But we're not going to worry about those 3 this week. We're going to talk about those a little more next week. Our next section is some nouns. On the left side, we're starting off with el agua. El agua means the water. Now, el agua, I probably should have put a star next to this one too. Since I didn't, please feel free to put a star next to it because it's kind of irregular. If you notice, it starts with the word el, but the word agua ends with the letter A. Now there's a reason for this. Agua is actually feminine. The only reason they put the letter L in front of it is because they don't like how la agua sounds. If they were trying to say la and then agua, they don't like how it sounds because it just kind of all jumbles together. So to make it a little bit more clear what is being described and talked about, they just say el agua because there's more definition there, el agua. Next one, el chico. I use the word chico and chica in class a lot, so hopefully this one is somewhat familiar. El chico means the boy or the guy. It's pretty general. Sometimes it's even kind of like dude. It's just describing a guy, el chico. Next one, el jugo. El jugo, not really a good cognate. It means the juice. El jugo, the juice that you would drink. The next one, it's a long one. Los ejercicios aeróbicos. A mouthful, I know. I'm going to say it again a little bit slower, so hopefully you will be able to hear how it's broken down. And a tip, if you're not sure how a word is pronounced, kind of group it into little letters and take your time practicing your Spanish pronunciation. So the first part, los. Next word, ejercicios. Last word, aeróbicos. A little bit slower. Aeróbicos. All together, that sounds like los ejercicios aeróbicos. The nice thing about los ejercicios aeróbicos is that in English, it's pretty much the exact same thing as it looks like in Spanish. It's a good cognate. It means aerobic exercises. And this is just a style of exercise. You should get your heart rate up a little bit, all that good stuff. Our next one, la chica. You've heard this one too. Hopefully you know that it means the girl, la chica. Next one is a pretty good cognate. Now remember, the letter H in Spanish is silent. It's not la hamburguesa. We gotta give it a little Spanish flair. La hamburguesa. La hamburguesa, when you look at it, hopefully you might have thought of the word hamburger. La milla. La milla is a loose cognate. It actually means the mile. So if you're running, you might run una milla, a mile. Or, if you're really, really ambitious, like mi hermanito, like my brother, you might run cinco millas, o 10 millas, 5 miles, or 10 miles. Not me, I'm not that brave. However, milla is the word for mile. Last one in our noun section, las papas fritas. Las papas fritas often go very good with una hamburguesa or maybe a Frosty from Wendy's. So las papas fritas are French fries. In Spanish, they're more literally called the potatoes fried. We just call them French fries, las papas fritas. All right, so we got through all the new vocabulary terms. However, there is more on our vocab list. I want us to go over how to conjugate an ER verb. Now, remember, conjugation just means changing the verb so it agrees with who is doing the action. In Spanish, all these verbs that end with the letter ER, we can't just leave them like that. We got to change them. And there are 3 steps. The first step, check who's doing the action. Who is our subject pronoun? We got to know that. Step 2, we are going to drop the ER ending. And step 3, we got to add a new ending. Now, I'm hoping those steps sound really familiar, because if you notice, we're pretty much following the same steps as conjugating an AR verb. The only difference is instead of dropping an AR, we're dropping the letters ER, because all these verbs end in the letters ER. Otherwise, it's exactly the same thing. For now, we'll go over these new endings which look a little bit different. But first, like I said, step 1, who's our subject pronoun? Who's doing the action? Let's review those really quick. So we got our chart. And hopefully, in Spanish, we know what it looks like. We got yo, and then we got tú. Then we have él, ella, usted. All of those options should be on the left side of your chart. And those are all singular. They're only referring to one person. However, if we're talking about more than one person, now we get to fill in the right side of our chart. At the very top, we have nosotros and nosotras. Then, if you want, you can add the Spain word vosotros or vosotras, though you don't have to because that's not really our focus in Spanish 1. And our last 3 options, ellos, ellas, ustedes. Now, let's go through kind of review what those mean really quick, because it's great if we know what the Spanish is, but we also have to know what it means in English. So, yo means I. So if you're saying I run, I talk, I learn, we have to use the word yo. Tú, with an accent mark, means you, informal or casual, like how you would talk to a friend, someone your own age, even a younger kid. Tú. Next one, él, with the accent mark, means he. So if I'm like talking about my brother, after a while I wouldn't say my brother this, my brother that. I would say he runs, he eats hamburgers, so on and so forth. Ella means she, and usted means you, formal. When do we use this? Again, it's like if we talk to like a boss, some type of authority figure, you know, just a more professional situation for usted, you formal. Again, those are all our singular options. Let's go over our plural ones. Nosotros means we, referring to a group of guys or a mixed group of guys and girls. Nosotras also means we, but it's only referring to a group of girls. Vosotros and vosotras, in Spain, it's a way to just say you guys or y'all. It has nothing to do with formal or informal. Don't worry about that. It just means y'all. You guys, you all, plural. Ellos means they for a group of guys or a mixed group of guys and girls. Ellas also means they, but just for girls because it's feminine. And ustedes, this is not formal or informal. Don't worry about that on the plural side. Ustedes, just like vosotros, means you guys, you all, y'all. It's just saying that you, a group, plural. All right, now that we did a quick review of our subject pronouns, let's look at our new ER endings. So, if we're taking one of those verbs at the top and we drop off the letters ER, we have to add a new ending depending on who's doing the action. If we want to say I, yo, our ending is still going to be the letter O. It's nice, it's easy, it doesn't change. However, from here on out, it looks a little different than our AR endings. If we're saying that to or you are doing actions, we're going to add the letters ES. Is. Next, if we're saying that he, she, or you formal are doing an action, we're just going to say A. Sounds like the letter A in English, but in Spanish we're actually writing down the letter E, but it's pronounced A. Now, if we are doing an action, nosotros, then we're going to use hemos, which is E-M-O-S, hemos. In Spain, they use ice. And you can write this down if you want, but you don't have to because we're not going to worry about it too much. Now, for ellos, ellas, or ustedes, if we want to say they do something or you all do something, we would use en, which is just the letter E and then N. N. One more quick reminder, please put a little dash in front of all of these endings because these are not words by themselves. These are something that have to go with the rest of the word. So let's look at an example. Let's look at aprender. If we don't want to say to learn, we want to change it up and talk about who is doing the learning, how would that look? So, first step, we're actually going to go through all our subject pronouns. So we're just going to make another chart, and you can do this on the back if you want. Drop the ER ending. So I want you to write aprend in all the spaces. Aprend. And now we get to add our new endings. If we want to say I learn, we have to say aprendo. If we want to say you learn, we say aprendes. If we want to say he learns or she learns or you formal learn, we would say aprende. If we want to say we learn, we use aprendemos. In Spain, if they want to say y'all learn, they would say aprendáis. And if we want to say they learn or y'all learn anywhere else in the world, we would say aprenden. So hopefully this is pretty familiar because it's the same pattern that we follow as conjugating an AR verb. However, there are different letters we got to watch out for. Hopefully that's not too confusing. But if you have questions, please let me know. I'll be happy to share more resources with you. Plus, feel free to check YouTube. They got lots of awesome people who have already kind of broken it down for you. But if you're not sure where to start, once again, let me know and I can direct you where you need to go. One last thing, there is a short Google form I need you to fill out. This is my way of tracking participation to see not only that you watched the video and hopefully picked up on these new vocab terms, but it shows me that you are participating and practicing what I'm going over. Alright, I hope that helps. Email me if you have any questions. And I miss you guys. Hope you're staying safe. Hasta luego. See you later.